Right. Good evening. Welcome. This is the Gentleman Ultra and the Calcio Blogs emergency podcast from. Yeah, I mean, we've got to just let's go straight into it, Rich. The Derby d'Italia. It delivered again. Now we are both Inter fans. We don't really hide that. I think we're going to try and be diplomatic, are we? Or are
I'll
we
say,
just going to go
you know
all out?
what? Considering I work for Inter, let me take the Juve perspective in a good way, because I'll have a crack at that because I can understand why they're frustrated. I think that, yeah, like you said, we'll get straight into this. So for people who didn't watch the Derby d'Italia, obviously Inter win this game 3-2. It's a last minute goal.
I think. Sorry, if you listen to this podcast and you don't know what's happened, you
I've
probably
just
shouldn't be
told you.
listening to the podcast.
Yeah, yes, you folks. I like his podcast. I can say what I want. No, but on a serious note, they obviously Inter win 3-2. Zelensky scores late on, and you've got to give it to Juventus. They played exceptionally well. You know, with
Oh,
10,
brilliant, weren't they? Yeah.
when they had 10 men, they were fantastic. They are been on the up for a long time. I mean, the fact of when you say, obviously, both of us with our Inter ties, staunch Inter, and yet you've got to call Spalletti's doing a good job there. I remember very early on, everyone said Spalletti needs to have that. He's going to give them that electricity they've been missing. There's a great,
Mm.
I think it wasn't actually Tuto Sport, surprisingly. It might have been Gazette. It was a great headline because it did make sense. And Spalletti did some good work for us. And he's done it for them. And he's done it for Napoli, of course, as well. So from my point of view, you with Juventus getting the Yildiz contract signed, Jonathan David scoring, you know, you come into San Siro, you down to 10 men. We'll talk about that later, so no one needs to freak out. We'll talk
Did
about
they
it.
go down to 10 men? Did they? No one mentioned it.
No one's ever mentioned it, but I think if no one did, no one's mentioned it apart from Bastoni, but not condoning it just before anyone says anything. But no, on a serious note, look, if you flip that result around, of course I'm furious. You know, I think it's a big game. The history between Inter and Juventus is obvious. But I would like to think, as a reasonably well-sounded and grounded human being, if I'm an Inter fan, if I'm a Juventus fan, for instance, I'm extremely happy about what my team have done. Of course, you can wax lyrical about the card. Yes, you can. And, you know, we don't need to go back into history saying, well, Bastoni had this against him or Juve have had that against him. It's irrelevant. It's one game, it's one time, and it happened. The fact is Juventus are in an amazingly good place, and they've done very well. Inter, you know, yeah, sometimes it's a rub of the green. It happens. We've had it against us, just as Juve have had it against them and you have it for them. And to be fair, I think one thing that people kind of miss on this is it's a massive, massive advocate for Serie A, you know, in the excitement for it. And look, I'm not being funny, but you can flip over to, I know you were watching Gillingham this week. You can watch, but also the FA Cup when there was no VAR, and you
God,
the Manchester
God.
City game, and how many
The Newcastle Villa game was atrocious, wasn't it? The
atrocious.
refereeing was just terrible.
So with VAR, without VAR, we're always, and especially in Italy, we're always going to be contesting referee decisions. Sorry, that's just my kind of intro to it. But from your point of view, I mean, let's go straight
Yeah,
to
no,
send it off.
we were texting on Sunday morning, weren't we? And at the time, I don't know if you still feel like this, but you tried to justify, well, Kalulu does hold his arm out, and Bastoni has gone down. It's a clear dive.
It's a duck. Okay, it is.
Listen, you're right. There's contact up high with the arm, isn't there?
It is.
And I know all the Juve accounts
Yeah,
are sharing
it
from the
is.
waist down the picture there where there's no contact at
No,
all. But
absolutely. And I think it's like
he's
this.
gone down so easy, like atrociously easy.
But we have to kind of realize that with this, right? I mean, if you love Italian football, there is no way someone in your team doesn't do this every single game. So it's not like
Listen,
it's new. I mean, for instance, if you look at it, I mean, Bastoni, I can't remember the game. I think it was Champions League when he pulls his shirt off. I just can't remember.
Florian Wirtz.
Florian Wirtz, thank you, Wirtz, yeah?
And Wirtz threw himself on the ground, yeah.
Yeah. Now, at the time, and I think if we go back on Twitter, you can find it, I was like, that's a clever foul. Now, my little boy's 6 years old, and I tell him, and maybe this is because of the love of Italian football, it's a game, right? For me, in the way my mind works, this is why I love Italian football. Business is a game. Life is a game. You play it the best way you can. And so for when you're on the football field, if you get that touch, you go down. And that is, for me, clever. If you don't like that, that's okay. And I know that it's not outside of the rules. That's the point. And if Juventus did it to us, I'd be furious. I'd be furious. But you know
Yeah,
what?
living.
I'd actually sit there with a wry smile and go, you know what? We need to get better at that. And that's what I'd be thinking. I'd still be
Yeah.
thinking about the result and think, and I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
Juventus
we
deserve it.
were having a discussion in the pub yesterday afternoon, and I was saying that this is what we were raised on Italian players doing, isn't it? The gamesmanship, the sort of sneaky, can I get an advantage here? Can I do that? I mean, listen, we'll talk about the abuse that it got me on Twitter in a minute, but
Yeah.
the European Championship final in 2021, Giorgio Chiellini, who had a lot to say, by the way, about Bastoni,
Yeah.
pulls Bukayo Saka back by his neck, right?
Yeah.
Now, everyone said, yeah, but he got booked for that. Yeah, he did get booked for that. He should have been sent off for it for a start. It's dangerous play. And secondly, if you're following the rules of the game and not stretching the rules, then you let Saka run through and England probably win the game.
Yeah.
Now, I try not to be hung up on things that happened 5 years ago, Rich.
Well, I know, but on that note, though, honestly, mate, look at this, right? And I thought about this a bit before we came on here, right? Look at let's go right back to Italia 90, right? When a lot of people are vintage fell in love with football and people go, it's the Italians that dive and etc., etc., etc. Third place playoff in Bari at San Nicola, right? Paul Parker comes in. I think it's Scalacci, whoever it was. It might get it wrong. Scalacci took the penalty. Third place playoff. The Italian player, who I think is Scalacci, the leg goes across, right? And Scalacci walks into that and he goes literally like he's about to do the Olympic goal dive, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. And people go, it's the Italians, it's the Italians. You flip to the quarterfinals, Gary Lineker, Cameroon, right? That was still a foul, but Gary Lineker goes over in the same way. So look, players want to win. And that's the point. Now, at the end of the day, the discussion for me isn't about when people talk Juve cheat, Inter cheat. No, we've just talked about the FA Cup with the problems without VAR, and we're talking in Serie A, the problems with VAR. The problem is that
Yeah.
now the final point I have to make on this is, and we're going to go back to Twitter and X because people seem to not get this, is my point is this, and I'm going to ask you this question. I asked my little boy this, who's quite interesting because his answer was good. But I said, why is it that goalkeepers make mistakes? Because he's a goalkeeper, right? Centre forwards make mistakes. Why are referees not allowed to make mistakes? You know, at the end of the day, it's the same thing, right? And he said, but aren't the footballers paid more?
They are.
Now, I
Yeah,
don't know what he
considerably
was
more,
going
yeah.
with that, but it's a good point because at the end of the day, the referees aren't paid as much and they can make mistakes. Now, at the end of the day, it's a game. And that brings me to your problems on Twitter. But for me, it's one of those things where we have to see, but I've had them before, mate. So I'm just glad that I even did something on X, which I'm not going to talk about, but I thought that I was going to get pelters for it. But can we enjoy winning no matter how it comes? Because I'm sure Juventus fans would, and I'd be happy for them to.
Yeah, listen, before we go into social media and some of the reaction there, I do just want to, there's two things I want to just pull up on Bastoni here. One is,
Oh yeah, there is.
I didn't like the celebration.
No.
I don't like that. You dive to get what you wanted and you got what you wanted. You don't need to be doing the celebration behind them. I thought that was in bad taste. The second is he a genius or an idiot? Because he was on a yellow card as well. So if the ref pulls him up for simulation, he walks. So he was the right side of it this time, but is he an idiot?
For me, I think there is definitely, and I don't think it's just Italian football. I think the Spanish are very good. The Argentinians are very good. I also think the Germans are excellent at it, and no one ever talks about it. Tell you who one of the best ones.
Famous for it, wasn't
I'll tell you, you watch Ajax every week, and that you'll see it as well. I think that I think one of the things there is, look, the hand goes out for whatever reason. You take a chance. No, I don't think the celebration I'll come to. I think he knew what he was doing well enough to execute that just as he would be a left foot pass across the field, right?
it?
I think he knows. He knows that's gone. He's gone. I'll go down. It's fine. At worst, he gets up. He just I can't even say it. He just gesticulates about that.
Gesticulates.
Thank you, Jesus. I'm not even in a drink. But yeah, and at the end of the day, the referee he draws attention to it. It gets looked at. Yeah, okay, he plays that chance, but I think he knows it. The celebration I don't like, because the one thing about it, if I'm going to continue on my train of thought, if it is, which it always has been in Italian football, as they see it, a bit of an art form, it's very Machiavellian, and I like it. So, okay, if it is an art form and it is, they always call in Italy a good foul.
Mhm.
And I even teach my boy about good fouls. If he ever plays outfield, and it's in their half, and you're caught on a counter, trip them up. Stop the
Yeah.
game. I'm okay with that. It's a game. It's like anything else. So, but what I don't like is a celebration, because what you're doing there is showing a side of it that isn't what I saw in the 90s and grew up with.
Hmm.
And that was bad. I think that was really bad.
Yeah.
So,
So let's move on to the Juventus reaction to it, because there were some pretty horrible scenes in the stadium, in the tunnel, wasn't there? Spalletti trying to hold back Comoli, etc., from getting at the referee, which is not right. That seemed to extend onto social media in the coming day, because yesterday I rather innocuously, as I thought, tongue in cheek, a bit of a laugh, you know, I'll poke the bear a bit, and I'll put the picture up of, Chiellini holding back Saka and saying, "Is this guy really talking about bad refereeing?" To which I received, dogs abuse. Threats against me, threats against my parents, like,
that was bad.
people are going to come round and find me and stuff, and it's just a game at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, we all love football, we live and breathe it, but
Yeah.
the sun's still going to rise tomorrow. You've still got to go to work in the morning.
I
Calm
mean,
down.
for me personally, I think when you talk about this, I mean, we spoke offline about this. It
Mm,
was, I don't mind saying this, and I got abuse very early on, because I've been, like I said, we always talk about how old I am. But when I first started doing stuff, especially with Inter and stuff, I went to like the Inter training ground, and I was interviewed. I was really lucky, and because of the Gentleman Ultra and other things, I got a chance to, in the Guardian and everything else, to go and interview like Mancini and everything else. Now, I'm not a professional journalist, never have ever. I've done more than I ever thought I would ever do with the Inter podcast and blah, 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 blah. And at the time when going out there, I was buzzing. And what should have been like an amazing trip, you're going as an Inter fan, you're going out there to Inter Corso from the Grande into Bergami, the head of the Ultras, which was not an Inter thing, by the way, but that was separate, from the Governor at that time. His name will remain anonymous. There was also the fact of going to Perisic and Mancini. And I was watching, and then I was in the press box doing something for Football Italia at the time. And yeah, being an early sort of social media, what do you call it? Not even a person, because I'm not really, but you know what I'm trying to say? Someone
yeah.
doing this thing,
Blogger and that, yeah.
we're crossing a line in the sense of,
Yeah.
you got abuse not from just your random people, but from actual journalists saying no journalist takes pictures. Now you see them, look at them all. They're all doing podcasts.
Yeah.
You can't get their faces over as much as possible. But those
Mm,
same people were giving me so much abuse for saying, you've had a picture with Mancini. You're
mm,
pathetic. You're this. You're not a journalist. This is why people from
mm,
social media shouldn't integrate and be with. And that was pretty hard, because you sort
mm.
of sit there and go, "Wow, these are people you respect and you like and you read and you
Yeah,
read
yeah.
on, and they're
They're just
giving you."
children still, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're giving you abuse about the fact that you're like living your dream. And I think that the fact is that, yes, of course, look, there's responsibility whenever you have even if you've got an amazing following on Instagram. I'm about the place, so people kind of weird in Italian football in very small circles, people might know who I am. But so you have a level of responsibility, but I wouldn't think anything that I see in your content or my content is ever that inflammatory to bring the reactions it gets. And when I was looking down, I mean, you messaged me and I was looking down, and it was, and it's not just about Juve fans here. Can I just make that massively clear? Because
It's football fans on Twitter, isn't it?
I've
Yeah.
had it from Inter fans, and in a
Mm,
weird way, and I'm a big lover of Arsenal, as you know, and well, that worked out really weirdly, but I got a lot going on after that Inter
mm.
Arsenal game.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny 'cause, again, we were talking offline about it. In Instagram, you can sort of have a bit of a debate with people about something, whereas on Twitter, it just seems it goes straight to death threats.
Yeah,
It's and look, I knew what I was doing. I wanted to poke the bear a bit, because one of my favourite things about football is the back and forth. It's the banter, and
yeah,
it's the sort of,
massively.
if I'd have got back, "Oh, you into this, the piece of shit," whatever. Like, no, fine, deal with that. That's what football fans do. Getting back some of the things I was getting back about, they're gonna hunt down the C who birthed me and F her, and just,
It was awful. I couldn't
guys, just
believe
be
that.
better. It's
It was
just like,
It
what the hell
wasn't
was the point in that?
if you've come out massively, like, and this isn't just, again, this is not about Juventus, please, if anyone's listening to this, because I'll get more abuse. No, but on a serious note, though, this could be anything, but it was just that you can't have a debate sometimes on
Mm,
social media at all now.
mhm,
There's Blue Sky's not so bad, but it's like whatever. Twitter does seem to be quite aggressive. But I think the one thing, and I want to ask you this question because when we've been talking about this, because it is, I know we're going to get back to a few things on Italian football, but I do think it's important because I think that younger people as well, creating content, whether it's written, whether it's via, video, sorry, whatever that might be, and they must feel, if anyone's listening to this and feels like, oh my God, is it me and what I'm doing? It's not, and that's
No,
unfortunate.
no,
That is what you put. I suppose you open yourself up and that happens. But one thing, and this is specifically, I think about Italian football. I've said this to you privately before. The Premier League is so global, multicultural, so fantastically massive that it seems to be able to envelop everyone within its arms. And yes, there's some brutal places there. I wouldn't like to be involved in a lot of it. And like Arsenal, Twitter, and all that, there's some gruesome places there. And I'm not just saying about Arsenal. I think Chelsea, Tottenham, whatever. The one thing, and I'm sure that's the same in the Bundesliga or the bloody Austrian league or wherever you want to go. The one thing I think about Italian football, and obviously James Richardson did such a good job of incorporating it into this sole focus in the UK, where that's all we had, and it was us and that. People who've stayed with it while the Premier League's got massive, it feels to me that any journalist, and I might have been guilty of this myself, so I'm not, not going to not criticize myself. People seem to think that they own the space. They feel like they own Italian football. I don't know what it is about Italian football, but it's like there's no room for anyone else. Like when I do look at some sites, and I think the Americans are amazing at this, there's all this and we've talked about collectives. You can try, and we might try, but there's a collective group of people in Italian football. It's like, no. We own this space. We are the only ones. Nobody else does. We have to get all of this, all the travel, all the history, all of this, all the news. And it's like, wow. Really? There's not enough space for loads of people because it's got such a rich history that if there was just more and more acceptance, and I don't know if that, because of the way that the content or writers and the content creators and writers act, does that have a reflection on the social media? I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. I think a lot of it comes about as well as I think a lot of people want social media to be their job, don't they? They want to earn the money out of it, and they want their job to be talking about football, etc. on social media, which is fantastic. What a great job it would be. Would love to do it. If anyone wants to sponsor me, get in touch at Calcio Blog.
Now he's dropped us.
Well, we'll see how much money's on the table, Richard. We can go 50-50. Just to bring it back to the point, I think where there's maybe not the audience size for everyone to have a bit of the pie.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe people just think, oh, I need to get that pie. I need to be the one that has it. I don't know. I don't know how it is. It's a hobby, but there's some great young creators out there. A little young, sounds patronising, doesn't it? Because I've only been doing it 6 months myself. But there's some great creators out there. We were talking earlier about Luke, Forza Calcio.
Amazing.
We had Lex on, didn't we, the other week? She was great as well.
Yeah.
There's Calcio Corner, the Calcio Club. There's some great ones out there.
There's loads.
Yeah.
And
sorry if I've not name-checked you, but off the top of my head, I can't remember everything and everyone.
No, we've talked about this. So many. We always message saying, "Listen, this person's brilliant." I like to think I'd like to turn that corner. I'd like to feel like there's space for everyone. And like at the end of the day, no one's putting anyone else out of business. It's like it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I just like the fact of being able to go on stuff and read stuff and listen to stuff that I don't know. And like I said, I've been doing this for years. I've got nowhere near your following, for instance. I've been doing it since the cows come home. But the point being is, it's irrelevant. It's like you embrace it and you go, "This is amazing." Like you do stuff, and I'm not going to sit here and say I've been to every single football ground in Italy, but so when you do stuff, even when you go to like places that I've been, I learned something, and you don't know everything. And that's why it's so nice. And what's really cool is seeing the younger people. Well, and again, it's not patriotic. I mean, I'm 46. Like I said, I am properly old now. So I get to say
one of the oldest ones around, you and James Richardson.
When are we changing it from the Gentleman Ultra to the Grandad Ultra? I don't know, but yeah, but on a serious note, it's great to see that it's still popular and still coming through. And I think Italy being the country it is and so beautiful and so fantastic.
Yeah, the culture of Italy really lends itself to people picking up on Italian football, doesn't it?
Massively.
That much is clear. Just to bring it back to football briefly.
Yeah.
We're talking about refereeing. Obviously, we covered probably the main point. from the weekend in refereeing. I don't know if you saw Orban's red card as well at the weekend. It was baffling. Well, what the hell was that about? Like, how could it? Surely that was. I mean, you gave him a straight red, so surely that could have been VAR.
It was. Yeah. I just.
If anyone's not seen it, just go onto Twitter and search for it, and you'll find a video of it somewhere. It's insane. Is it high foot they've done him for?
Yeah, but the fact is,
He's about 2 foot from the nearest player when he brings that ball down, doesn't he?
it's mind blowing. And you know, when you see players' reactions, I think I'm quite good at judging characters and different things. Sometimes you get the whole all this. This
Yeah, the
is just
feigned innocence. Yeah, he was complete disbelief, wasn't he? Like, what the
like you felt like he wanted to apologize and punch the guy at the same time. He was like, "Oh my god, what have I done? What has gone wrong
Yeah,
here?" And it was terrible. It really was. And yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been a few. You tend to get this, though, don't you? It feels like a really, really bad month for it with refereeing.
yeah. It's been, but like you said, anyone who watched any FA Cup action over the weekend,
Yeah,
the Newcastle Villa game was Tammy Abraham's goal was offside. Dino should have been sent off. The handball that was 3 yards in the box that was given as a free kick. Like,
in the Man City game, I think as well. There was loads. It was one of the
yeah, there was a
Arsenal
few,
that
wasn't
should
there? Yeah,
have.
it's referees, just please be better. If you're a referee listening to this, just take a second to think. That's all you got to do. You haven't got to whip your card out or blow your whistle immediately. Take a second, replay it in your head, and then
Well,
blow the whistle.
there was a really interesting point. I can't remember. It was definitely during the English football. I think it was Shay Given, and he made a really good point, as all goalkeepers do. And
He was one of my favourites, by the way.
yeah, and Shay Given was I think it was Shay Given. If it's not, I'll give you credit anyway because I like you. But the point was, what he was saying was that with VAR, what they call these days, the assistant referee
Hmm.
is used to hearing things to say, right, that's you almost. So when he's come out, and a lot of these referees, and especially the assistants, are now new coming through. So you have got this like line of new blood almost coming
Yeah,
through
yeah.
that aren't used to the old way. So when you put them into that, they're not used to almost using their own initiative. So the flag stays down rather than goes up. And in the FA Cup, when the flag stayed down for that much and the goal goes in and the crowd reacts, it's very difficult then to put your flag back up.
Yeah.
So VAR is almost, you've either got to have it outright everywhere, because going back to it with people who are officiating in both areas is very difficult. I agree with that because I think that I personally, listen, VAR is actually amazing in a lot of ways when it's used correctly, and it mostly is. Like being a bit old school, love the fact, as I mentioned before, if players and goalkeepers and coaches can make mistakes, let the referees make mistakes. Let's have conversations about it because we still are anyway.
Yeah, and I think what annoys me the most actually is we're still getting mistakes with VAR. So
Exactly.
we're ruining the game of football. We're ruining the stadium experience for
Yes.
no gain.
Yeah.
At least if we were ruining the experience, but there was not a single incorrect decision, you could go, well, all right, so we've solved that problem. We haven't solved anything and we've made the game worse.
Well, because we're still talking about this Inter Juve thing, which is, that could be Milan versus Padova. I don't care. It could
Yeah.
be anybody. But at the end of the day, we're still talking about it. Now, I would much rather be talking about that and say, for instance, there was a couple of goals this weekend in the UK in the FA Cup, which is such a special tournament. And we're seeing celebrations cut. I hate
That's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's absolutely heartbreaking
I
when
can't
you
remember
suddenly
who it
get.
was. There was one in Italy. And I don't like them.
Okay.
I remember the boy's name, begins with B, defender, I think, and he scores his first goal, and he runs off, and he's like buzzing, and they call it, and it hit his hand and beforehand,
Mm.
and it's like, do you know what? Even if it hit here,
Yeah.
really,
He's not making emotion or anything like that. Yeah. But when players celebrate wildly, they must have felt it come off their arm. I
yeah,
just think then you think, this is going to get called because I don't know where it came about that it wasn't just deliberate handball anymore. It was every single touch on your arm was
yeah,
suddenly now a handball. If you feel it touch your arm, just don't celebrate the goal because you know what's coming.
yeah,
Just,
exactly.
bit
So
of
it's
a
it's
bit
an
of
odd
dignity
one.
about it.
It is.
Speaking of Serie A and Serie A being Serie A, there was another viral moment this week, but not for a good reason. Lou Genoa signing Amorim was introduced to the pitch, and someone at Serie A in the graphics department put up a picture of Ruben Amorim photoshopped onto a Genoa player's kit. What is going on at Serie A? Like, what is going on? A lot of discussions about the way that the league markets itself and the way it presents itself. They are not helping themselves.
No, they are not. And we've talked about City achieving this as well, but the point being is that what I want to know, this is so bad. If no one's seen this, part of me goes like this.
We'll put it up on the clip on social media. We'll put the
Oh,
clip up
please
so
put it
you
on.
can see it.
Because the thing is for me, when I look at this, right, I'm watching it, I'm going, right, okay, it is possible that City have gone, we don't want to, and this is very, very, very standard of Italian clubs. I don't really want to pay anyone anything for doing anything. Bring you in, can you now put stuff up on the graphics, right? That is possible that some 16-year-old out of God knows where who cares so little about football just types into Google and does it. But I'd like to think that it's someone getting fired.
Someone should be proofreading everything, right?
Yeah, I just want to think that it's someone getting fired. He just goes, this is going to be brilliant.
So it's a revenge mission.
Yeah, it has to be. If anyone knows, if that person genuinely is out there or wants to come on this podcast and tell us a full story, if you've been sacked from Serie A and it was an accident, come and tell us the story. And if you did it on purpose, even more so.
But so listen, we talk about the way Serie A presents itself and markets itself. If I made a mistake like that at work, God, I would be over the coals.
Yeah.
Cold. It's not the first time they've done something stupid this season. He sued a content creator who recreated Serie A goals on FIFA. They took him to court and lost.
That's amazing.
Is there anything else you'd like to present? I mean, you must have something in the back of your mind that's so Serie A.
I have a few. I have a few. I need to get my phone out for this one, but there's one that gets me recently, and I've got to be very, very careful here. But one of the things that I saw recently, yeah, there's a couple. So one, I didn't actually. I was there's one where I only saw this very, very recently. It's on AI, and basically one of the clubs is reading a whole skit of this player throughout here. I can't name it because I get in trouble. They get throughout his whole history.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I know which one it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say it?
And the wrong bad. Yeah, can you say I'm talking about something very, very different from what you're talking about, of course, but you can more than well.
No, but I think I saw one that Inter did about Lautaro Martinez.
But that wasn't the one I saw.
No. Well, if you've not seen it, a club that has access to thousands of hours of footage of one of their own players has used AI to generate a video of him growing up through the Inter system, and it's
with the wrong badges, I do believe.
Yes, and that rightfully getting absolute pelters for it, I think, in a few sections of the media.
The other one I've got here is obviously Battista's new life at Trigoria, Roma's training ground. This is brilliant. So obviously it's a bit sentimental. So basically they posted Roma with a situation where he's been come back to Trigoria to look over the stadium, and the 57-year-old has been petitioned by the fans now to re-sign because of Roma's. Well, they haven't got any bloody strikers, have they? So
is he 57, by the way?
He's 57. He is, yeah.
God, now I feel really old.
They petitioned that like it's a proper full-on petition. I put that. It was in the Corriere della Sera this morning about that, which was brilliant. So that is fantastic. And also
because I saw that Totti's talking about going back, isn't he? Obviously not to play.
Yeah, not playing, obviously. Yeah, but then
maybe he should. Yeah.
What's the boy's name from Villa?
Marlon.
Amazing. 5 goals in 5.
Fantastic, isn't he? Yeah, wow.
He's looking amazing. And the other one I had was so in the Derby d'Italia. This is again from sorry, I'm reading my paper review notes. It's because it's funny because they just come out with such rubbish. So basically, I'll read this directly from the papers. Basically, ahead of the high stakes derby, d'Italia between Inter and Juve, and Italian press. Full spy thriller mode because reports surfaced that Manchester United, will people, deployed and quote a 007 emissary, brilliant, to the San Siro, where it was actually just a scout in a trench coat looking at Inter's players. Italian media painted it as a high-stakes espionage mission, complete with the headline suggesting that James Bond was himself checking for unsellable gems. I love the M bit. Unsellable gems. And you know who that was? Funnily enough, to go full circle, it was all about Alessandro Bastoni.
What's it?
It
Okay.
was. So, yeah, a man in a trench coat from Manchester United has now been called James Bond by the Italian media. Basically, they think he's so intelligent that he's going after a player that is never going to be sold, which is actually quite true. So, yeah,
Maybe the license to kill Juve could employ that with the referee.
very good, very good.
We'll leave that there. I don't want to talk anymore about Juve because I'm
Okay,
already still
great.
reeling from checking my mentions again on social media earlier. Before we go, I know you wanted to talk about something very dear to yourself and a collection of
Yeah,
yours.
it's totally random. And if we can get, well, I probably won't get a clip of this up, but if we do, we do. I'm writing an article, and normally, can do the research, but I'm actually looking for people to know if anyone else collected something that was very, very. Now, I don't think we're going to find one person here because
Well,
these are.
you never know your luck.
You never know. So this is why it's an appeal rather than anything else. So in the late 80s, I've already lost the audience now. So about 88, when I started watching Italian football, before the build up to
That's
Italian.
the year I was born, by the way.
Christ, I'm old. So I was 8 years old, and in the build up to Italian 90, I had my first Inter kit and everything else, and it was a football, little plastic figures, and it's called Forza Campiani. In Germany, it was called Kenner something or other, and in England, it was called Sport Stars, and these were little plastic figures of Italian footballers. Really, really, most of them were really well done, apart from Baggio, who looks like nothing like Baggio. But these were like really hard now to get hold of, and they were really hard at the time to find certain players. And my childhood was built around these players and collecting them, and I still collect them now. I've got all of them out of the box, and I'm making this. They're all in my office. You've seen the picture. They're all there, and it's like a mad, weird passion for me that I want to collect all these players. And the one missing, the hardest one to find, and I can find most of them, and I paid an inordinate amount, just
The
way too much money for certain players.
missus doesn't listen to this, does she?
Pardon?
Your missus
She
doesn't
knows.
listen.
She knows. She's accepted this a long time ago. The amount of money I spent for Marco Landucci from Fiorentina, the keeper, was too much. Then, so you get certain players. So we're talking like players like Rijkaard, Klinsmann, Hullet, Maradona, Careca, Rui Barros from Juve, all the Italian 90 squad, pretty much Bartolacci. But it's Rudi Voller. I am trying to find Rudi Voller. Forza Campiani, Rudi Voller. If anyone collected these, I'm writing a whole article about every single one. I can find almost everybody, apart from two. And one of them is Rudi Voller, and the other one's Walter Zenga in the Inter kit. Italy, no problems. I'm very, very sad. But it means a lot. So if anyone knows, let me know. I doubt anyone does.
The problem with completing a collection is that then you'll have nothing to do.
Yeah, but Rudi Voller's like, I've still not got all of them. I've not got all of them. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, they're worth a lot now. So yeah, I need to get hold of Rudi Voller because the rest of
Yeah, you think he's got one in his own personal collection?
yeah, that's it. I'm coming for you.
Good. Well,
Right.
listen. On that note, we'll call it a day. So
Yes.
thanks for your time. I know you're flying off somewhere in the morning, not Italy.
No football.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Italy actually. No, it's not Italy. It's Vienna with work and blah blah blah. So not as much.
I have a week off work this week, so I'll be, follow closely. I'll be churning out content because
Good stuff. Good.
I've had one day off so far and I'm bored. So I actually ended up doing a bit of work earlier, if you can believe it.
Well, we'll enjoy seeing the content come out, and yeah, good stuff on Pisa as well. By the way, today.
Yeah, I found that shit. Listen, I don't like to only do London-based trips. I just cap off on this. I don't like to only do trips from London airports. However, it's so easy because Stansted is the hub of Ryanair and there are dirt cheap deals constantly. You can do that trip from Manchester. You need an extra day because the schedule is only Friday and Mondays. So you have to go for an extra day and it's a little bit more money, but you can do it if you're up north.
But we also are getting a lot of people coming in wanting content from Aberdeen because we're not hearing anything from Scotland airports. So you need to get on that, mate.
I'll tell you now, there'll be nothing for Aberdeen. I can't barely get anything from Edinburgh out. Edinburgh is like,
So is that,
seems to be the busiest one, and I can't get anything from there. Okay, cool. Well, we'll end on that. So cheers, ciao, arrivederci, etc. Lovely.